Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we will be meeting with Saleh Mubarak, who is a connection of mine through LinkedIn. We've had a chance to get to know each other a little bit, and he is going to be sharing with us today one of his personal passions, which is project management for life. So with that, Saleh, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then talk to us a little bit about your passion.
All right, all right. Well, thank you very much, Brianne, and hello, everyone. Gives me pleasure to talk to you. And when people ask me about my background, I would respond, it depends on how far you go back, because I'm really diversified in every way you can think of, even ethnically in the places I lived in. My ancestors came from Algeria. I was born in Syria. I grew up when I was a little child in Sudan, Saudi Arabia, and then I came to the U.S. in 1981, first to Indiana and then Ohio, New Jersey, and then went down to South Carolina where I did a Ph.D. at Clemson University. By the way, they are the national champions in football. Um, um, so I lived in, and now I settled in Tampa, Florida, and I love to travel as much as possible. A couple of months ago, I was in Fiji Islands, giving a teaching a 3-day project management workshop, and next week I'll be in Malaysia. So it's a joy to meet people from different background, different ethnic, religious, and cultural backgrounds. I came to the U.S. as a young bachelor, and now I'm a grandfather of some of beautiful children. Specialty was in civil engineering, project management, construction project management, but I started years ago to go into some soft skills. I started reading books on emotional intelligence. I loved it. um, I was into a little bit of psychology, communications, and every supportive uh, knowledge to my project management profession. Because I remember a long time ago we did a survey when I was a professor at Georgia Southern University. What are the skills needed for project management? And number one was communications. So I wanted to strengthen my communication skills. I also joined the Toastmasters Club for years. So that was a quick background. Um, dimension is how to manage life, and uh, this is a big question. I can't answer in a small podcast. In fact, I don't know if I have the answers, but I'll try. I'm researching myself. One of the stories that hit me hard myself is that I had a colleague when I was undergraduate in Syria, and then I left Syria in 1980, came to the U.S. in February 81, and I lost contact with him. Years after that, about 18 years, a mutual friend told me that this guy, his name was Muhammad, was here in the U.S. I said, "Really? Where? I need to get in touch with him." He said he's in Boston. I said, "Give me his phone number." So I talked to Muhammad, my friend, and we kind of uh, first of all, I let him guess who is me, and he managed to guess after some conversation. And at that time, I think this was in 1999. I was 41 years old. He was 42, and my kids were already in middle or high school, even. Um, I think not high school, but maybe middle school. He, excuse me, I'm still recovering from cold. So he told me he just got married, or he didn't. I think he by that time he did not get married yet. Anyway, to make the long story short, uh, I learned that he was a real workaholic, where he put all his effort into promoting his career, working day and night, 80, 90 hours a week to prove himself, and he really worked hard. He next year I think he got married. he talked to me and he said, people don't understand how busy I am. I work 7 days a week. I can't even go out for lunch. I order a sandwich and eat the sandwich. The year after, I think the year 2001, I learned that he died of a heart attack. He was 44 years old, and he was seemingly healthy. He did not smoke or drink. He had a black belt in martial arts, yet he dropped dead at age 44 of a heart attack. And the obvious reason was stress, that he did not balance his life. He put too much focus on one aspect of life, which is career promoting, and ignored himself, ignored the socialization, the entertainment, the spirituality, all these aspects. So, uh, shall we start the presentation, Brian?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
All right, all right. So, I thought my specialty is project management. Can we transpose that concept into life with, of course, some adjustments? And I thought, yes, we can. We can borrow a lot of concepts from project management. I started with talking about the American dream, and I know that there is a definition in the dictionary, but people define it as I want to have a nice house, nice family, all that, nice career, good amount of money. So, what are we looking for? Prosperity, happiness, success, content, improvement of quality of life, other good health. Some people say relationship with God. That's all beautiful. Uh, we like to have a combination of the above, and I put between parentheses or series because maybe one of them leads to another one. If you have success, you will have happiness. If you have success and happiness, maybe you will be content. But the big question is it okay to have success in one front at the expense of um, other fronts? I won't mention the name, but a famous football NFL coach, he reached big success. He got a championship, but uh, his son died at the age 21 from drug overdose. So there's obvious negligence of family issues because he wanted to focus on his career as a football coach. The question is it worth it or not? So if we ask ourselves, is money a goal or means? Many people mix means with the goals. This is, I want to have money. Is this your goal? Yes. Well, if money is a goal, then how much? Is it 1,000? Is it a million? Is it what? And we always find ourselves chasing that moving target because once we fulfill a target, we want to upgrade and we want to have more and more. And there's no end to this game until death. We keep chasing that dream until death, and we may never enjoy it. And that's the question. And then what? Okay, you got a million, and now what? If you haven't reached that 1 million, you'll be chasing and chasing and chasing. Um, if it's a means, as it should be, what's your goal? Define your goal. Unfortunately, I found many people, and I always talk to my children, what's your goal? I want to have this and that. And I said, no, son, that's not a goal. Define a goal and then define a plan. How would you achieve that goal? And then ask yourself, is it feasible? I want to go to the moon. Well, that's not feasible. I remember when my older son is now 35, 36, I think. When he was like maybe 10, 11 years old, my entire family, myself and my kids are crazy about basketball. I love basketball. And my son always watched me play basketball. He played with me and so on. So when he was 10 or 11, I said, son, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he said, I want to be a professional basketball player. And I said, son, I don't think, um, I love basketball and I like to see you excel in basketball, but realistically, I don't think that is feasible because your chances are very, very slim. What you have to do is sacrifice your studies, your life, and play 3 hours of basketball maybe every day between now and high school, and then if you make it to college scholarship, if you get a scholarship and you play for college, also you have to sacrifice academics for sports. And then what are your chances to be drafted in the NFL? 1%? What if you don't? So it's not really a feasible project. And then let's say you achieve that goal, and then what? Always ask yourself, and then what? There are a lot of goals. I have a goal of losing weight. I have a goal of paying off my mortgage. I have a goal of this. Setting multiple goals is normal. Don't be intimidated by how many goals. You can set interim goals towards the big goal. If the big goal is like, oh, I want to pay my mortgage in 10 years, then I should have interim goals. And I should have strategic plannings. If you work in an organization and they say this organization has strategic planning, which is a long-term plan, that's a great thing to have. But that is not mutually exclusive with setting goals and entering goals. The importance of monitor, well, once you set a goal, and then what? Then you start the execution towards the goal. Then you start monitoring, controlling, and adjusting whatever your plan needs. There are a lot of tasks in our lives. I'm not going to read the whole thing, how to manage them all, how to, make sure that you have all it takes to do them. In fact, you don't. Most likely, you don't have what it takes to do them. Often, I tell people, let's do, and this is what I do usually. Let's do a comprehensive to-do list. Everything you want to do, whether it's today, tomorrow, or it's 3 months from now, or a year, or 2 years from now. Then you prepare a list that's probably 55, 60 items. I usually do a sub list. This is for today. It's 2, 3, 4 items, no more than that. When an item is done, completed, I cross it, and I have this good feeling that when I cross that, I did. This is done, mission accomplished. All right. But often, when you look at the comprehensive list, you see that some of them really are more of a dream than a, a plan for yourself. So you probably don't have. So what you need to do is prioritize them, because we always have to do more than we can handle. We like to do a lot, but we have limited time. We like to uh, buy and acquire things, but we have limited resources. We like to pay attention to so many people, so many things, but we have limited attention or attention time or attention span. We can do so much, only so much. Maybe we can, or maybe we can do more if we get organized. Um, Life is about setting priorities and balancing tasks, meeting huge demand and limited supply. In most cases, it's not a problem of lack of resources, but it's rather a problem of proper allocation of these resources. And we say that in construction, sometimes, we have too many resources, yet we cannot do the uh, uh, project on time because those resources are not allocated in the right way. Tasks in our lives are two types. Either one time you do it, you have to repair your car. This is a one time thing. Yes, it may happen 6 months later, but this is a task that you have to do now. Or there are repeated things. You have to pay the credit card every month. You have to pay your bills. You have to go to the gym every Monday and Friday. Those are the routine or continuous things. Each one has to be handled in a different way. This is how I define life management. I don't want to spend much time with the presentation, but life management is managing all tasks and activities in one's life in a balanced and efficient way in order to achieve happiness and success physically, mentally, and spiritually. This is achieved by planning, estimating required resources, prioritizing tasks, making logical decisions, and monitoring and updating while approaching the target. So the key two requirements in my mind or in my opinion is strong will and emotional intelligence. Strong will because people always say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I have one of my relatives, a young lady who I've talked to her many times in the past 10 years, and every time I talk to her she repeats the same thing. I want to do this, I want to do this. But she doesn't have the will um, to start that first step. It becomes just a dream, not a real plan. And then you have emotional intelligence because the emotional intelligence allows the logic to override the emotions. You want to do something, but you have to do something else. And to me, maturity is the knowing the difference between what you like to do and what you have to do, and then act accordingly. You're going to argue with me that there are more requirements than these two, and I would say, yes, you're right. But in my opinion, all other requirements are subsidiaries or branching of these two. We need good organization, ability to change, perseverance, focus, all of these. And the good thing is, the good news, both requirements are trainable and can be enhanced. Um, this is I skipped the definition of project management. This is the definition of a project by the Project Management Institute. The keywords in the definition of a project, it's a temporary endeavor. So it has a beginning, it has an end. All right. So, and that's the difference when we teach. That's the difference between management and project management. A management, like a management manager in a bank, a manager in a store, manager of human resources in an organization, your job is the same day in, day out through the years. The project manager is different. You start the project, you execute it, you finish it. It's done. Right? And in project management, every project is unique. Again, you're going to argue with me. Oh, it's not. I know that there are two McDonald's that buildings that are exactly the same. I said yes, but there are two different projects, and I can tell you the differences. Could be seen or unseen. Could be in the foundation. Could be in the atmosphere, in the workers, and so on. This is um, a draft of what's the difference between a project, a portfolio, and a program. Um, but basically, if what we want to do is a small thing, we call it a task. If it's tasks, we project. If it's a huge thing, it's a program. And an analogy is a program is like Paris is hosting the 2024 Summer Olympics. That's a program. A project is building a stadium for that program. A task could be a column or a slab or the bleachers in that stadium. So all what we do, or most of what we do, falls under one of these things. College education for your son, if you have a son who is 15 years old and you're planning college education, that can be a project or a program, and you can plan for it. Um, this the five project management processes our process groups are initiating. Initiating includes the feasibility studies and the decision to go or not to go. And then once we decide to go, we start in the planning and then executing. While we're doing the executing, we do the monitoring and controlling. Basically, monitor and control is to make sure that you are going to the target, towards the target, with the within the constraints. In construction, we always say it's comparing the as built to the as planned, and then finally closing. Um, I want to skip this as well, and I want to importance of planning. Planning is very important. This is my last one, and I love this slide because it says um, planning early saves you lots of money, time, and headache. So This is a curve that shows ability to influence the design in any project. We're talking about construction projects, but it applies to all projects in our lives. So at the beginning, you have great ability to influence design. Imagine your son wants to go to uh, college. If you plan it early when he or she is in the ninth grade or 10th grade, you can focus on certain courses in high school that will help him or her in college. Well, if you wait a little bit, you're somewhere here. Well, he's now in high school. The SAT. You still have great influence into choosing uh, the major. If he already took 2 years there, you are in the execution right here, and he wants to change his major from engineering to history or psychology. Well, it's possible, but he's going to lose about maybe 30, 40 credit hours and so on. So the earlier you do it, the best for you. And then this is the cost of change. And then we conclude the presentation with this: failure to plan or to prepare is preparing to fail. So with this, Brianne,
Yeah,
continue
thank you so
discussion,
much
but
for presenting
I'll let
that. I think
you
that the concept of
take it from here.
applying, project management principles to life, honestly, it's very interesting, and at the same time, it's probably something that more people should be doing, because you're right. Kind of life is a project, the from the day that you're born until the day that we die. It's a series of different projects, maybe even to go a step further in the program of your life. But I think that a couple things as you were talking that I wanted to revisit. I think the way you started off talking about your friend that died, and basically it sounds like he didn't have a real good work-life balance. It sounds like he put most of his eggs in his work life, and created so much stress that he wasn't able to focus on other things. And in the end, even though physically it seemed he was a healthy person, his life was almost overwhelmed with all the other work things that really in the end, how important was that? So I think that that's a really interesting concept, and I would say, myself included, something that we as professionals need to be much more conscious of, because I can speak for myself. I definitely work way more than 40 hours a week, and I other areas of my life suffer because of it. So I think that that's a really big thing that you talked about, which I personally I felt like was very important. And then I like the idea that you talked about, everything in your life, you're making the decision to do this, and then what? That's it almost like it's always an unfinished project, So I like that a lot. So I guess, my question for you would be, because life, in this concept kind of is a project or a program, you kind of talked about it a little bit from the ideal, project management process, and, kind of having everything planned for. You use the example of, if you have a son that is going to college, is that could be a program or a project that you're planning for. My question would be, how do you plan for change requests? If you go back to the project management world, things that were unexpected that you have to kind of now plan into your project.
Well, in project management, first of all, the planning is extremely important. And in the planning stage, there is something we call it risk management. Now, risk management has nothing to do with safety on site. It's risks that may affect the outcome of the project. A shipment delayed, an accident, um, you know, things of that nature. And then we put that in a list, in most likely in Excel format. We call it the risk register. And this risk register has everything that can go wrong, or actually the term risk in project management can be negative or positive, can be an opportunity, for example. We put everything that could happen there. And then we do what we call it quantitative and qualitative analysis, which is the likelihood of each event, and then the consequences that with each event. As we move on every week, we meet again, and then we update this risk register. Let's say here in Florida, the hurricane season is coming, and we put it, hurricane season is out, so we cross it out, or we say the likelihood is less, and so on. We know that in everything. By the way, my specialty is cost estimating and scheduling. So it's basically money and time management. And we prepare before the execution of the project a cost estimate and a schedule, which is time estimate. And I always tell only God knows exactly what's going to happen. We don't know. This is only an estimate. So that's why we add what we call it money contingency in every budget. There must be 5 to 10% budget contingency. This is only used by the discretion of the project manager in severe cases or exceptional cases or emergency cases. At the same time, we have time contingency. We add. I worked for the county government here in Hillsborough County Government in Tampa, Florida, and we had an interesting concept. Maybe I'm revealing a little bit of a secret that for every project in public works we did, we had two finish dates separated by 90 days. Those were big projects, and we had a county of commissioners that we are reporting to. And those county of commissioners were not very forgiving. So when we say this road is going to finish by October 2021, for example, and then things happen unexpectedly. All of a sudden, there is an issue. We can't buy the land. We can't get contractors. Um, so the project is delayed, and those people, the commissioners, come and say, "Oh, you did a bad job. You did not uh, estimate the finish date on time." So what we said, we're going to have two finish dates separated by 90 days, and those 90 days are estimated. It could be 20 days or could be 50 days, whatever you want. The shorter one, the sooner one, is to our crews, to our contractors. We have to finish, let's say, by July 31st. And then we add 3 months, August, September, October, and we tell the Board of Commissioners we're going to finish the project at the end of October. Right? So we leave those 3 months. So always in life, we do the best to anticipate and predict and estimate and plan, but we always keep a little bit of contingency, whether it's time contingency, whether it's money contingency. Otherwise, we will be in trouble.
Excellent. Well, I want to be conscious of our time. We're getting to the end of our time, and I feel like we didn't talk about enough. I feel like there's so many questions still, and you gave us so much good information. So yeah, I'd like to, if you're open to it, maybe invite you to come back and we can continue this conversation.
Sure, sure. I want to, before we end, it will take me 2 minutes or 1 minute. I want to add something about the 1090 rule in emotional intelligence. I think this is great because negative people keep talking about obstacles and challenges and problems, and I can't, and this is difficult, and so on. And always talk about luck, and this guy is lucky, and while positive people talk about solutions. So the 1090 says 10% of what happens to you is out of your control, all right? But the other 90% is under your control, which is your reaction. Now, when I explain this to people, some people really dwell on the percentage. Oh, it's not 10. I said, well, forget about the percentage. Uh, it's not meant to be exactly 10 and exactly 90. No, no, no. The majority is in your hands. There are so many examples I can give. I wish I have time, but maybe we will explain more in uh, future conversation. But I think always the positive person does not talk about luck, and that's why I believe positive people do not buy lottery tickets. I never bought lottery tickets. I'm not a gambler. I believe in planning, in things that I can do effort, smart effort into getting results. I hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. I feel like I'm in the same boat. I would never buy that stuff. I completely agree. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. For everyone who's listening, check back for a date. We'll continue this conversation. And with that, thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to talking with you more in the future.
Sure, my pleasure.